Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the media. Welcome to another weekly press conference by the People's National Congress Reform. Today, we'll be having as a thematic concern the Ministry of Housing. On my extreme right, there is the General Secretary of the People's National Congress Reform, Mr. Oscar Clark. My immediate right, the Honorable Minister within the Ministry of Communities, Minister Valerie Patterson. All right, we have today a prepared statement which will be delivered by the Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. My youth on my left and my other youth on my right. And today it's an honor and a privilege to be here at this PNCR press conference and to share on the plans of the Ministry of Communities and more particularly Central Housing and Planning Authority. The People's National Congress Reform supports the move by the coalition government to build communities rather than allocate house lots, as was the custom under the People's Progressive Party administration. Building viable communities has always been the thrust of the PNC's housing policy in and out of office. In our party's first 10 years in office, we developed a housing program that provided housing of satisfactory standards and sizes for low and middle income families. We stimulated cooperatives, self-help, and other forms of non-profit making means of building communities. We changed the landscape of housing and home ownership in Guyana. The PNCR in government increased the housing stock by producing new accommodation at a rate of over 4,000 units per annum. It was under the PNC that communities such as Tugville, Tuber, Amelia's Ward, North and South Rumville, Festival City, Roxham Burnham Gardens, Melanie Damishana, Stevedore Scheme, the Wisma Rockstone Housing Project, we refer to it as the Wisrock Housing Scheme, Dazzle Housing Scheme, and many others were developed. It is apposite to note that under the PNC, we did not give the working man or woman an undeveloped piece of land. We gave them a key to a well-built house in a community with paved roads, light, and running water. The PPP's housing policy, or what we term the house lot policy, has failed. And I don't think that has a question to it. It has failed. Hundreds of acres of land allocated for housing remain idle and undeveloped. Communities were allowed to be developed without adequate infrastructure, without water, light, roads, etc. The 1,000 Home Project, also known as the Turnkey Project, which was officially launched at Providence in 2014 by the PPP government, that also had major problems. However, despite being allocated, and you would know only recently CHNPA hired a project manager. Up to that time, 50 completed houses remained, to the most part of it, unoccupied. Because of poor construction and poor finishing, coupled with structural faults. Also, this program was riddled with corruption and poor management. It is for this reason that the PNCR supports the new initiative of the Ministry of Communities to replace the 1,000 Homes Project with apartments and condominiums to provide a critical housing need for especially low and middle income families. Our party, as part of the coalition government, is also committed to ensuring that suitable and developed land is made available for private housing building for those persons who could afford to build their own homes. The PNCR will continue to encourage the development of a prosperous and efficient construction industry as an essential component of our economic growth and prosperity. The PNCR calls on the leading institutions to provide incentives and assistance to the house building industry through mortgage financing and short-term loans for repairs, extensions of homes and home improvement, and long-term loans for new construction and rebuilding of condemned houses. Guyana's housing problem cannot be considered in isolation from the economy as a whole. It must inevitably be related to the whole process of social and economic development of our country. The PNCR is committed and will support any initiative to ensure that new, well-integrated housing communities which have a sound economic basis of existence are built for the benefit of the workers of Guyana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, the floor is now open for questions on the press statement.
Swatan Marshall from the Guyana Chronicle. Minister, could you say when this, the apartments and condominiums will, when that project will commence, how long it's going to take, and what is the process if somebody wants to acquire one of the apartments? How they will do that, if they will use the regular forms or if there will be a release of a new form?
Okay, first of all, let me say that the building of the condominiums and the apartments, you would have noted in the newspapers over the past month and a half or 2 months that we had an expression of interest in the newspapers and on social media. We have designed what we would like the condominiums to look like. We're looking at 3 stories, 4 stories with 8 apartments on each level. We have identified the areas that we like these condominiums and apartments to be built. We're hoping to have this project start, well, definitely in 2017. We have also engaged the Islamic Development Bank that was here about a month ago, because of course government does not have the financing to build all these apartments. And we recognize that we have to get into partnership. The Islamic Bank, we did the presentation to them. There seems to be a buy-in to it, but of course that will take a process. We have decided, based on the advice of our, His Excellency, to look at what we call the low-hanging fruit. And we considered the duplexes as the low-hanging fruit. So that will be the first part or the first phase of the project. And we hope to start that in the first quarter of next year.
Funds will come directly from government.
We are not sure yet. Cabinet has not made a decision whether for the duplexes, whether we'll go solely government or that also will have collaboration, or whether we'll receive a grant or a loan, because the Islamic Bank has a grant component as well as a loan component. So we're not sure which direction that will go. As it relates to the process, first of all, you have to have an application in the system, in CH&PA system. So that's the first thing, you have to apply. And we will design a separate form for persons who are desirous, because you will know, not everybody would buy into the duplexes. Most persons, however, have indicated their interest. And so that process is, we are in progress right now where that is concerned. And as soon as we have completed it, we'll let the Guyanese public know.
Would preference be given to a particular group of persons? Would preference be given to a particular group of persons, say single parent mothers or single parents in general, family, nuclear families?
But I can tell you right off that for 2017, the focus given to us by His Excellency is that the preference must be for state employees, it must be for low-income earners, and youths. So that will be, not to say that somebody outside of those three categories will not qualify, but the focus are on those three. Or I must say the priority will go to those three categories.
Oh, Minister Royden James, Nightly News. You did say the 1,000 homes project will be replaced by apartments and condominiums. Developed countries are advising that persons move away from these types of units, because I read an article up this morning where some housing departments in the United States are urging persons to move away from these types of housing because, among other things, it's not safe to grow young children among, in these types of units. How relevant and timely is this development for Guyana, given our status and stuff here?
These type of housing you're referring to, the condominiums?
And apartment buildings.
Okay, in Guyana you would have noticed that when the AP and UFC government took office, we met 25,000 live applications in the system. And you would know that everybody needs a house lot urgently. I've been bombarded by persons. We've met applications in the system from 1995, 1997, 2000, and these persons are waiting. Many of these persons already have families. In my consultations I did around the country, persons said to me that when they applied, they weren't even married. They did not have a child at that time. And now they have children as old as 20-something years and all that. And so the need is there and it's urgent. Most of the persons are asking for Region 4. And I can understand why. But when we look around what's happening in Georgetown per se, there is no available land for housing. So we have to go. You would notice that most of the housing here is now on the East Bank and the East Coast. Now, if we look at the number of applicants, we cannot continue the process of giving one house lot per person. Definitely, we'll have to go into the interior to satisfy the need. So when we look at it, we recognize that you can use the same portion of land if you do condominiums and apartments, and you'll be able to house many more families by doing this kind of project. You're saying that most of the world is moving away from that. I am not so certain. Maybe one country or so on. But for us, we believe it will work. It worked under the PNC government in the 70s. I come from Linden, and we've had a housing scheme with these duplexes, but it was the top and bottom, not the ones we're doing is side by side. And you had the range houses, and many adults today grew up in that as children and pass it on to their children, and it is still standing. So that's the way we forward thinking for us right now.
Any other question?
Minister, if I can ask this too. I remember earlier when you had just took office, or I think when the government had just took office last year, they did mention that a lot of lands were given away haphazardly by the former government. You said lands now is a problem. Is there any plans at all by the Ministry of Communities to repossess those lands which were allegedly given away haphazardly?
We do have a repossession policy, and it's something we were looking at. It needs some revision, but you know our legal system. For us to do that, we have to take the process through the courts. And rather than going through the long way, what we're doing right now, we have persons who are specifically assigned to looking at applicants who received allocations and have not occupied. We're calling them in, writing them, encouraging them. My office has been bombarded with several letters on a daily basis where people are asking for extension because the agreement has a stipulated time frame when you should start building. So many of these persons are in violation. But we don't want to just repossess land from persons because we recognize that most of these persons are poor people. And our government is not in the business of, doing that kind of thing to poor people. So we're working with them and we're seeing an increase in occupancy. Right now we have a survey going on. I think the group is in Linden right now. We've done it already in Region 6, Region 3, and the survey is to determine all the occupied lots, all the unoccupied lots. Those that are unoccupied, we're trying to ascertain who they are, whether they have paid, because we have found also in the system persons that are allocated 3 years ago and has not paid a cent. In those cases, we are reallocating. So during last week, I had a number of house lots that I was allocating for Region 3 and 4, and that came as a result of allocations that we checked in the system that no payments were made for. So rather than have it there, we reallocated to who want it now and who has the money. But we have not turned our backs on repossession. But as I said, it needs refining, and we are working on talking with the people, communicating with them. However, let me just say this, we have also found in the system that some of those unoccupied lands, the persons who owns them already own a house on the CHMPA. Particularly in Berbice, I can tell you we have found several house lots that were given to one person. So we're working on correcting that.
Just one last question, Minister. I know in May the CHMP had embarked on a Jubilee offer. Is there anything for Christmas?
I think the only thing I can say for Christmas is hope that the Minister of Finance gives you 50,000.
What?
Because CHMPA, we had the Jubilee offer, the 50-50 Jubilee, and recently you would have seen over the past 3 weeks or so, I was going around the country and we were giving $50,000 home improvement subsidy. How come you missed that? And we gave the persons in regions 2. I went to Anna Regina and we distributed subsidies there. We gave to Region 3 and 4, and that activity was held right here in Georgetown at CHMPA. We gave to Region 6, Region 7, Region 9, and Region 10. You would have noticed I missed Region 5. We did have the forms, the subsidy forms there. Some miscommunication between the RDC and the people. Only 4 of those forms returned, and none of the 4 persons qualified because you had to be living in one of our housing areas, whether a housing scheme or a regularized squatter settlement. Regions 1 and 8, we have an IDB home improvement program going on there right now, so we didn't think it necessary to do the subsidy.
Michelangelo News Source. Minister, you said that you guys have identified some areas for the apartments and condominiums. Could you say where those areas are?
Okay, on the East Bank, Little and Great Diamond, we have a vast piece of land there, and we're going to use it for that purpose. In Central Georgetown, there is a 1.3 acre in East La Penitence. We're going to put 4 condominiums there, and the Cummins Lodge on the East Coast. We'll also have some duplexes and condominiums. Sorry.
If the bank decides to grant the ministry the loan, how much money the government is hoping to secure for this particular project from the Islamic Development Bank? And when the houses or the apartments, are built, what is the estimated cost a family would have to pay based on your assessment and evaluation? So the persons could have a better idea of what, will be coming in 2017.
Okay, but I don't want to preempt what the government will agree to. As I said, we did our estimates based on our designs. However, because of the expression of interest, whoever wins the bid, because we can have one person winning the bid, or we can have several persons, because it's actually designed in phases. You can have one person winning the bid just to do infrastructure. You can have another person winning the bid to do the duplexes, and another can win to do the condominiums, or one person can win for all 3. So we have opened it in such a way, designed in such a way, that whoever wins the bid can do modification to our designs, of course with our consent. That will change price to some extent. So I don't want to go the way of giving a figure now. We are still working it out. The apartments will be 2 and 3 bedrooms. And what we're trying to do, because if you looked at the 3 categories that we're targeting, of course we're trying to bring it into the range of what our turnkey house costs right now. Somewhere around that, might be just a little more, because of course the aesthetics and all that is great. When you see it, you would want to pay the price that we'll call. Because it is something upgraded, but we, as I said, we're trying to keep it at minimum cost. So whoever wins the bid, then we're going to work it out with them, and then we'll let the public know.
Mr. Patterson, Marcel Thomas from the Starbuck News.
I'm only hearing you, but I can't see you.
Because this guy is blocking me. I just wanted to have with you in a nutshell. Are you saying, despite the mounting criticisms of the project, condominium project, the positive past experience coupled with the need for housing justifies CHNPA's decision to go ahead with the project?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that adds to it. But you said despite the mounting negative criticism, yes, we have received negative criticism via social media, but I can say to you, the majority of the persons have said to us, this is the way to go. I guess because I personally listened to a program that Mr. Mosley had on the radio one morning, and while some criticized, most of the persons who called in said this is the way to go. We're modern Guyana. We're no longer in the days of, we are progressing. We found oil. People will re-migrate to Guyana and all that. And that's the way to go. And I guess when I listen to the comments, some of those persons I would want to believe they grew up in a tenement yard kind of scenario and they had a bad experience, right? But we're, giving them the confidence. All over you go. I went to Jamaica recently. Jamaica has condominiums and, these high-rising apartments and people living there without any, negatives. And I said to one person just the other day, where I grew up, we didn't have in my area apartment buildings. We had single houses. And you still had people, one living at this end of the street and another one to that end, and they had views out. So it has nothing to do really. It has to do with you as a person and your interpersonal relationship with people.
Yes.
General Secretary, me again. It's on the former PM's Hampton Green benefits. My questions are, why, given that you were with the party for so long and you would know these things, why the party waited so long? Why didn't they put measures in place during the time 1985 to 1992 so that PM Green could have got his benefits and they didn't have to come to this?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. To say that we didn't put systems in place would not be correct. Systems were put in place. The past government did not actualize those systems in relation to Prime Minister's benefits. But systems were put in place during our time. They were not actualized by the previous government. And that's the reason why it's happening now.
Just to follow up, Mr. General Secretary, on the heels of mounting concerns and criticisms from all these non-governmental organizations concerning Mr. Green's pension, and he served at a time when Guyana was at its worst, as so he put it, do you think Mr. Green was still entitled to these benefits?
Yes, I do.
And your explanation to that?
Say again?
An explanation as to why you believe?
Mr. Green was a Minister of Government since 1968 and served between 1968 and 1992, but more particularly as Prime Minister from 1985 until 92. I think Mr. Green is more than entitled to benefits as Prime Minister.
Mr. Clark, I wanted to follow up on you saying that systems were put in place. You have evidence, documents of these systems?
Oh yeah, there's a law. There's a law. You didn't check the law? There's a law in Parliament passed during our time to give presidents and prime ministers benefits. But Mr. Green was not given the benefits. How do you think Mr. Former Prime Minister Hines got his benefits? He got it as a result of the law that has been passed, which they operationalized in his interest, but not in the interest of the Prime Minister Green, who had served during the time the law was and the law is on the books.
PM Hines is getting a former president's pension.
Say again?
No, I'm saying that former Prime Minister Hines, he's getting a pension.
Presidential pension. It is as a result of his being a president that he's getting that. But he was also a Prime Minister. He's getting the higher pension, which is the presidential pension, not the Prime Minister's pension.
But, Mr. Clark, you have our current PM, Mr. Nakamoto, saying that this bill should not have been named for Mr. Green and limited to Hamilton Green. It should have been crafted to, say, former PM's benefits.
I agree with the Honorable Prime Minister Nagoto. I agree with him.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the media, thank you very much for your attendance. My name is Brian Smith, National Secretary of the Giant Galley Movement. It's been wonderful having you here today. Good day.